We often think evil is the greatest threat to humanity. We imagine it in the form of tyrants, violence, corruption. But what if the true danger is quieter, more invisible, and far more common? Dietrich Bonhoeffer believed that the real threat isn't evil, it's stupidity. Not the kind of stupidity we joke about, not ignorance or lack of education, but something deeper, something more insidious. Bonhoeffer wasn't just a theologian. He lived during a time when truth was punished and silence was rewarded. He watched as intelligent, moral people surrendered their minds to ideology, not because they were evil, but because they stopped thinking. He saw stupidity as a force, not a flaw, a pattern that spreads in silence, a sickness of the soul that disguises itself as righteousness. It's not about lacking intelligence, it's about lacking reflection. The stupid person is not simply wrong. They are unreachable, not because they can't understand, but because they no longer care to. And that's where the danger begins. Bonhoeffer didn't define stupidity as a lack of intelligence. He saw it as a condition, a psychological surrender. The stupid person is not unable to think. They refuse to. They hand over their power of reasoning to someone else, a leader, a slogan, a crowd. And once that handover happens, something terrifying occurs. Logic no longer matters. Evidence no longer reaches. Truth becomes irrelevant because the stupid person isn't evaluating reality. They're echoing it, blindly, automatically, uncritically. Bonhoeffer believed that stupidity is more than ignorance. It's a choice, a detachment from personal responsibility. And the more a person identifies with a group, a party, a movement, an ideology, the more they lose their individual capacity to reflect. They don't see anymore. They absorb. They don't think. They repeat. The villain knows what they're doing. They lie, deceive, manipulate, but they are aware. This awareness makes them predictable. You can challenge them, expose them, stop them. But the fool is convinced they are right. They spread harm without knowing it. They're used by others without realizing it. And worst of all, they see themselves as virtuous. You can't reason with them. You can't debate them. They don't respond to facts because their loyalty isn't to truth. It's to familiarity, comfort, identity. Bonhoeffer warned, the fool is not a free thinker. They are a repeater. And in repeating what the system demands, they become its most efficient weapon. This is why stupidity is more dangerous than evil. Evil wears a face. Stupidity wears a mask. And it looks like someone you trust. Repeat. If what you've heard so far resonates with something deep inside you, if you feel the need to think, not just repeat, if you're ready to reclaim your mind in a world that rewards blindness, then don't just watch. Be part of something different. Subscribe to this channel to stay awake. Like this video if you believe thinking is still an act of courage. Comment below. I choose awareness over comfort. Your voice matters. Your mind matters. Stay awake. Stay free. No one wakes up and decides to become foolish. It happens slowly, quietly, through 1,000 small choices. The choice to stay silent when something feels wrong. The choice to agree because it's easier than questioning. The choice to trust authority rather than trust your own eyes. These choices are not evil. At first, they are survival, fitting in, avoiding conflict, staying comfortable. But over time, the cost of comfort grows. Every time we silence our doubts, we teach ourselves to stop seeing. Every time we echo what we don't believe, we disconnect from who we are. Bonhoeffer understood this. Stupidity isn't just imposed, it's accepted. And every time a good person chooses comfort over conscience, the system gets stronger, the mind gets weaker. Stupidity isn't born, it's built, one small surrender at a time. Stupidity doesn't thrive in freedom. It thrives in fear, in control, in systems where obedience is rewarded and questioning is punished. Bonhoffer watched how regimes used fear, propaganda, and repetition to shut down independent thought. The stupid person doesn't simply arrive, they are produced by environments that discourage reflection, by leaders who prefer silence over scrutiny, by cultures that confuse loyalty with truth. The more pressure people feel to conform, the easier it becomes to let go of thinking. And when everyone around you stops thinking, stupidity doesn't feel dangerous, it feels normal. This is how systems win, not by silencing opposition, but by training people to silence themselves. Bonhoeffer saw this not as political theory, but as lived experience. He saw churches stay silent, academics justify horror, citizens turn into spectators, and he understood stupidity isn't just a personal flaw, it's a political tool. You can't argue someone out of stupidity. That's the painful truth. Bonhoeffer saw this firsthand. Once a person stops thinking, no fact can reach them. You speak truth, they laugh. You present evidence, they shrug. You ask questions, they repeat slogans. So, can it be cured? Not with logic, not with force, not with shame. Bonhoeffer believed the only antidote is inner awakening. You don't defeat stupidity with smarter arguments. You defeat it by reviving a person's will to think, by creating space for self-reflection, by removing fear and reintroducing freedom. Because stupidity isn't just a failure of thought, it's a refusal to choose, and people can choose again, but only when they feel safe enough, brave enough, human enough to question everything they've been taught. That's the hard path, but it's also the only real one. Not all ignorance is stupidity. Ignorance simply means, I don't know yet, and that can change. With curiosity, with humility, with openness. But stupidity is different. Stupidity says, I don't know, and I don't want to. It's not a lack of knowledge. It's a rejection of learning. Bonhoeffer warned that mistaking the two is dangerous. If you treat ignorance with hostility, you lose a potential ally. But if you treat stupidity with kindness, you risk legitimizing it. The ignorant are reachable. The stupid resist being reached. The ignorant can ask questions. The stupid repeat answers they never examined. True wisdom is knowing the difference. Because if we treat every uninformed person as stupid, we shut down growth. But if we allow stupidity to hide behind the mask of innocence, we invite collapse. It's easy to blame systems. It's harder to see how we participate in them. Bonhoeffer didn't write about stupidity to insult others. He wrote to warn us about ourselves, because every time we stay silent, every time we avoid discomfort, every time we follow the crowd without thinking, we help build the world we fear. The responsibility to think doesn't belong to philosophers or politicians. It belongs to you, to all of us. Awareness is not comfortable. It's lonely. It's inconvenient. But it's also powerful. To stop and question, to reflect instead of react, to think when thinking is discouraged. This is not just resistance, it's revolution. Bonhoeffer believed that even in the darkest times, conscience can survive. And as long as one person dares to think, the world is not lost. The choice is always ours. We can choose comfort and fall asleep alongside the world. Or we can choose awareness and carry the heavy, beautiful burden of thinking. We can repeat slogans, or we can craft new questions. We can follow the crowd, or we can listen to the quiet voice inside us. Bonhoeffer's warning wasn't just for his time. It's for now. For every moment when thinking feels harder than shouting, when doubt feels lonelier than certainty, when silence feels safer than truth. It's in those moments that the real decision is made, not once, but every day, every conversation, every time you open your mouth or choose to listen. The future doesn't belong to the loudest. It belongs to the most awake. And the world changes not when we force others to see, but when we refuse to stop seeing ourselves. So stay awake, stay questioning, stay human. The world needs fewer echoes and more voices that dare to think. If you're ready to choose awareness over comfort, reflection over repetition, truth over convenience, then stay with us, subscribe, reflect, grow, and above all, never forget, your mind is your most radical act of freedom.